Hello and welcome back to the Time Vault, your portal to the most incredible stories from history. Today, we're rolling onto the battlefield of World War II to uncover the legend of a machine that changed the face of modern warfare. The Soviet T-34 tank. Forget what you think you know about tanks. The T-34 wasn't just a weapon. It was a revolution on tracks. When German forces launched Operation Barbarossa in 1941, they were confident in their technological superiority. Their Panzer III and Panzer IV tanks had blitzed through Europe, seemingly unstoppable. But then, on the vast, unforgiving plains of the Eastern Front, they met their match. Imagine the shock of a German tank commander, peering through his periscope, seeing this strange, low-profile vehicle with sharply angled armor emerge from the smoke. Their shells, which had easily pierced French and British tanks, were suddenly bouncing off like pebbles. This new Soviet beast was the T-34, and it was about to give the Wehrmacht a very rude awakening. So, what made the T-34 so special? It boiled down to a genius combination of three key elements: firepower, mobility, and armor. Let's break down that armor first, because it was truly groundbreaking. The T-34's designers, led by the brilliant Mikhail Koshkin, implemented sloped armor. Instead of flat, vertical plates, the T-34's hull and turret were angled. This simple but revolutionary design meant that an incoming enemy shell was more likely to ricochet off harmlessly. Even if it didn't ricochet, the shell had to penetrate a much thicker effective armor depth than the actual plate thickness. For the German anti-tank guns of the time, it was a nightmare to deal with. Next up, firepower. The initial T-34-76 model was armed with a powerful 76.2mm main gun. This gun could punch through the armor of most German tanks at typical combat ranges. It was a versatile weapon, capable of firing both armor-piercing and high-explosive rounds, making it effective against tanks, infantry, and fortified positions. While the Germans would eventually catch up and surpass this with their own heavy hitters, for a crucial period in the war, the T-34's gun gave the Red Army a significant advantage. And then there's mobility. The Eastern Front was a brutal environment. Deep mud in the spring and autumn, known as the Rasputitsa, and heavy snow in the winter could immobilize entire armies. The T-34, however, was built for these conditions. It featured wide tracks that distributed its weight, giving it excellent flotation over soft ground. It was also equipped with the powerful Christie suspension system, which allowed it to travel at high speeds across rough terrain. While German tanks often got bogged down, the T-34 could keep moving, enabling rapid flanking maneuvers and deep strategic advances. It was a true all-terrain vehicle, perfectly suited for the war it was designed to fight. But the genius of the T-34 wasn't just in its design. It was also in its production. The Soviet Union understood that this was a war of attrition. They needed tanks, and they needed them in vast quantities. The T-34 was designed for mass production from the very beginning. Its components were relatively simple and could be manufactured in factories far behind the front lines, often by a workforce that included many women and young people. Even as the Germans advanced, entire factories were evacuated and reassembled east of the Ural Mountains, in a monumental feat of industrial logistics. This meant that while Germany was building complex, expensive, and time-consuming tanks like the Tiger and Panther, the Soviets were churning out thousands upon thousands of T-34s. Quantity, as they say, has a quality all its own. Of course, the T-34 wasn't perfect. Early models were plagued with mechanical issues. The two-man turret was cramped and inefficient, forcing the commander to also act as the gunner, which severely limited his situational awareness. The visibility from inside the tank was poor, and internal communication systems were often unreliable. The quality of the armor and welding could also vary wildly depending on the factory and the urgency of production. Soviet tank crews paid a heavy price for these flaws, with casualty rates being tragically high. However, the Soviets were masters of iteration. They listened to feedback from the front lines and constantly improved the design. The legacy of the T-34 is immense. Over 84,000 units were produced, making it the most produced tank of World War II and the second most produced tank of all time. Its design philosophy, a balanced combination of firepower, mobility, and armor, all designed for mass production, influenced tank design for decades to come, including the famous Soviet T-54, 55, and even modern main battle tanks. It wasn't just a piece of military hardware, it was a symbol of Soviet resilience and industrial might. It was the tank that absorbed the initial shock of the German invasion, held the line at Stalingrad and Kursk, and then spearheaded the relentless counteroffensive that led to Allied victory. The story of the T-34 is a testament to innovation under pressure, a perfect example of how the right design, at the right time, can change the course of history. It was a simple, rugged, and effective machine built by a nation fighting for its very survival. From its shocking debut in 1941 to its triumphant entry into Berlin, the T-34 earned its place as one of the most iconic and influential weapons ever created. Thank you for joining us on this journey back in time. What piece of historical technology should we explore next? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the Time Vault for more deep dives into the past. We'll see you in the next one.